Hi there, it's July the 10th, and we're continuing our journey through the Acts of the Apostles, Luke's sequel to his Gospel, and we are in chapter 27, and we're reading from verses 21 to the end of the chapter in verse 44. So we left Paul and his travelling companions drifting in the Adriatic Sea. Having set out from Crete against Paul's advice, they now find themselves in a terrible storm, and for 2 weeks they are in this situation of fighting against the sea, of drifting because they don't want to be carried into the North African coast, into the Syrtis Bay, where there's a graveyard of ships. And so they're really in a terrible situation. They're not eating for 2 weeks. They go without food. Maybe they didn't feel like eating with the state of the ship and the sea and the terrible ordeal that they were going through. But at the end of 2 weeks, Paul stands up and he has a statement to make, and at the end of this fast, and he's probably made use of the fast as well to be able to pray, he says, look, I actually advised you not to leave Crete, but I've had a wonderful visit from an angel of God, and he's told me that we're all going to be safe because I have been appointed to speak before Caesar at Rome, and therefore not only am I going to be saved, but everyone in the ship is going to be saved. As Paul says this, he says something beautiful. He confesses the God, ou mi o que la trevo. He says, whose I am and whom I serve or worship. And Paul makes clear before these people who would have worshipped all sorts of gods that his is the God who's going to save them. And so he encourages them to eat and to take food. Of course, everyone's worried about taking food, or they don't want to take food, but he says, let's eat, because this is going to mean we're going to be strong enough when it comes to this rescue. And by the way, he says the ship is going to perish, but we're all going to be saved. And he breaks the bread and he prays, he blesses the bread, and this encourages everyone to hold on to what Paul has said. Paul tells them that not a hair of their head will be harmed. So as they're continuing, in the middle of the night, the ship's crew think that they may be coming near land, and they take a sounding, and they find that the land is coming up to them from the bottom gradually. And then, of course, they're worried that they're going to get thrown against rocks and the ship be destroyed. So they put down anchors. Now, as they're putting down the anchors, some of the ship's crew have the idea to escape to whatever nearby land there is. So they're going to take the lifeboat that's been taken on board, and they're going to escape. Paul gets wind of this happening, and so he says to Julius, the Centurion, no one is allowed to escape. If anyone tries to escape, it puts in jeopardy all of us on the boat. And so the Centurion orders the soldiers to do something really amazing. He says, right, we're getting rid of the lifeboat so that no one can escape on their own. He cuts away the lifeboat. So they're getting nearer and nearer. And when day dawns, they see that there's an isthmus or a bay. In Greek it's called a place of two seas, the thalassos, and it's a place where two seas come together. So some say it's a bay, some say it's an isthmus, place washed on both sides by tides. But the sailors see this as an opportunity to maybe run the ship aground and for them to be safe. Oh, and by the way, after they've eaten, they've thrown all the precious corn overboard that they were trying to get to Rome to preserve. And so they are seeing this beach and they're making for it. They put the sail up, they take the anchors up that they've put down, and they're trying to beach the ship. However, unfortunately, they're not realizing that there's rocks underneath. The ship hits rocks, and the front of the ship gets stuck fast on the rocks, and the back is being pounded by the waves that are coming in and is starting to break up. At this point, the Roman soldiers who are on board decide it's time to kill the prisoners. The reason for this is because if a Roman soldier allowed a prisoner to escape, his own life was forfeit and he would be executed for the loss. But Julius, the Centurion, says no, he wants to keep Paul alive because Paul has been a great help to them on this voyage. And so in order to do that, he refuses to allow the soldiers to kill anybody. And he says everyone manages to get to shore. All 276 of them. So the ship is lost, the cargo is lost, but all of them, as Paul has promised, manage to get to shore with not a hair of their head harmed. It's so encouraging to see Paul here in this situation taking the lead of faith. He has heard from God. He stands on this word from God, the God whose he is and whom he serves. Ou emi ke o ke la trevo, the God whose I am and whom I serve. And if we know the God, the one whose we are, the one whom we serve and worship, we will see amazing things happen in his name. We can see salvation come to many. Have a very good July the 10th.